Chapter 23. First Adam, then Eve. The Lenape, Indians, were an Algonquin-speaking tribe in North America that had DNA traces of haplogroup X, which is found only in Jewish lineages. The Lenape, Shawnee, Iroquois, and Delaware tribes are considered the direct descendants of the Nephites and Lamanites, whose history is told in the Book of Mormon. The following account comes from Jasper Dankert's journal in 1679. A Lenape Native American chief arrived at an early explorer's camp in New Jersey. After asking him where he and his ancestors came from, he was silent for a little while, then took a piece of coal out of the fire where he sat and began to write upon the floor. He first drew a circle and made 4 feet, a head and a tail. "This is a tortoise," he said. "In the beginning, this world was all water." Then the tortoise gradually raised its round back up high, and the water ran off of it, and thus the earth became dry. He then took a little straw and placed it on end in the middle of the figure and proceeded. The world was now dry, and there grew a tree in the middle of the earth, and the root of this tree sent forth a sprout beside it, and there grew upon it a man who was the first male. This man was then alone, and would have remained alone, but the tree bent over until its top touched the earth, and there shot therein another root, from which came forth another sprout. And there grew upon it the woman, and from these two are all men produced. This Lenape creation story was published in 1833. It will be covered in more detail in a later book in this series, but it is interesting to see that the creation of Adam and Eve in the garden is told by every civilization, whether they had contact with each other or not. This is evidence of an original parent source. In Greek mythology, Pandora's box is a similar tale to the fall of Adam and Eve. In this story, man was created and placed on earth after the Olympians conquered the Titans. 2 brothers were tasked with the creation. Epimetheus started by making the animals, then Prometheus created the first man in the image of the gods. He gave man reason, intelligence, and the ability to choose their destiny. Zeus later made the first woman, named Pandora. She was given gifts directly from several of the gods themselves, including the gift of curiosity. Zeus wanted humanity to learn through pain and suffering. He created Pandora to introduce this chaos into the world. He gave Pandora a jar containing the power of the gods and told her never to open it. Her curiosity eventually got the best of her. One night, she opened the box and released all sorts of human emotions. The Discourse on the Abaddon details this story when it says, "My Father made them take Adam into paradise, and a multitude of angels sang hymns before him, and they left him there, and he continued to ascribe blessings unto God. Adam, with a heart full of happiness, joined the angels in their song of praise. His voice traversed the flourishing paradise and mingled with the music of birds. The passing animals approached him joyfully as Adam became aware of the beauties of his home. Adam walked along the crystalline river as it serpentined amidst the wonders of Eden. On both sides of the river of life, fields were filled with all kinds of vegetation. All species of insects, birds, and animals lived in perfect harmony. Adam felt intense joy over the countless species of animals that populated the garden. They were gentle and submissive, living in perfect harmony and happiness. In the middle of paradise stood the shining mountain. As the angel described it, Mount Zion, the place of God's throne. From this mountain flowed the river of life that ran through the whole earth. Upon reaching the summit of the sacred mountain, Adam noticed the most exuberant vegetation surrounded him. There were pine trees, cypresses, olive trees, rosemary, and fig trees bending under the weight of their ripe fruits. As he admired the beauty of this place, he recognized that this garden was patterned after the palace of God. He saw the figure of a man seated on the throne, clad in a cloak of fine linen of incomparable whiteness. He wore a crown of 7 overlapping crowns, each filled with precious stones. The shining scepter, with which the Messiah ruled the entire universe, had in it the seal of dominion, upon which was written a name: Israel. Looking around, Adam admired the whiteness and tenderness of an animal leaping on the grass as it approached. He took it in his arms and granted it special affection. He found it pleasant to stroke its white wool, and its gentle eyes reflected a glow of love and humility. This animal had something special. Adam affectionately named it Lamb. With the animal in his arms, Adam contemplated God's white garments and expressive eyes of unmatched love. Adam discovered that he held in his arms a symbol of his joy. He exclaimed joyfully, "O Lord, this little lamb, clad in such white wool with eyes full of love, resembles you. I want to have it with me always." Then, observing the other animals, Adam perceived that they enjoyed a particular communion. He saw happy couples everywhere, living for each other. His thoughts turned to his own companion. He looked around, surprised not to see her. Adam felt alone in the midst of this paradise, although there were animals to accompany him. They were irrational and unable to share his ideals. It was then that a fervent desire arose in his heart to find someone with whom to share his happiness and love. All scriptural accounts agree that it was during this time that Adam was given the commandment not to partake of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. A careful reading of the scriptures will show that all of this takes place before Eve is introduced into the garden. It is easy to recognize that if Adam had partaken of the fruit and started his mortal journey without his female counterpart, the results would have been disastrous for him. It makes sense to suppose that the command not to partake of the fruit of the tree of knowledge may have only applied to Adam during the time period he was alone, and was never repeated to Eve after she arrived. After all, scriptures have only ever spoken of it as Adam's transgression, never Eve's. The scriptural record leaves this option open. Many apocryphal texts tell the story in this way. This is not to suggest that the commandment not to partake of the fruit of the tree of knowledge was officially revoked when Eve was later introduced to the garden. In fact, all accounts suggest that Adam, Lucifer, and the rest of us who were watching these events take place understood that it still applied. But there is no indication that God told Eve of this commandment at any point after she had passed through the veil. She probably heard it for the first time from Adam as he toured her around the garden, and assumed it applied equally to her. Speaking of the first commandment delivered to Adam when he was a lone man in the garden, the Book of Enoch states, "I gave him his will and showed him two ways, the light and the darkness. And I said unto him, This is good, and this is evil. All this, so I should know whether he has love for me or hate. I already knew his nature, but he did not yet know his nature. The purpose in this life is not to prove to God that we will be obedient to his commandments. It is to prove to ourselves that we can be. With each trial that we overcome, we recognize something about ourselves that God already knew. After witnessing that Adam had recognized the need for a companion, our heavenly parents said to one another, It is not good for man to be alone. Let us make a helpmeet for him. If we look past our modern need to be offended by everything, we will see that, in ancient times, the word helpmeet meant a person who is perfectly suited to help. This does not imply in any way that the person providing help is inferior or subordinate to the individual in need of help. This is where the scriptures traditionally tell the story of the creation of Eve. But we know that she had already been created alongside Adam before he was brought into the physical realm. We should understand that she is not being created, but being introduced into the garden at this time. Adam rejoiced to hear this promise just at the moment when he so desired to have someone by his side. Adam lay down on the chest of his loving Creator, who caressed and lulled him to sleep. When it says that a deep sleep came upon Adam, we can understand this to refer to the veil of forgetfulness. When he awakens from the sleep, he has no memory of his prior actions as the Archangel Michael. Having forgotten everything, he will be like a little child. In his subconscious, the first colorful dreams arose. Contemplating with the tender gaze of the eternal and the wonders of his surroundings, Adam heard the harmonious sound of angelic music. He dreamt of his discoveries on Mount Zion, its rainbow, the river of life, the flowered meadows, and the animals saluting in festivity. These scenes surrounding him repeated in his dream. But when he looked around, hoping to find his companion, he did not see her. He felt alone in his mind, which urged him to seek someone to share his existence with. His gaze then stretched across the verdant countryside, seeing in the distance flowered hills. Walking with hope, he felt the gentle breeze caressing his hair and said, "The breeze seems to be the one I seek. You stroke my hair, you kiss my face, you have the scent of green bushes. If only I could see your face, I would do anything to see it. If only I could touch your hair, I would braid long strands and adorn them with flowers from our garden." After walking in the dream through the meadows of paradise, Adam stopped. Contemplating the surrounding landscape, he marveled at not seeing the breeze's effect on the flowering branches. How is this possible? Hadn't he felt it warm on his face? Then he began to wake up from his dream. Still with closed eyes, he remembered the moment when, drowsy, he lay on the chest of the Eternal. Wondering if the breeze had touched his hands, he opened his eyes and was moved. Before him stood a beautiful woman who, with her fragrant hands, lovingly caressed his face. She was the breeze of his dream. The Creator, who only wanted to make him happy, had fulfilled his promise. We are told something about timing in this part of the story. While all the accounts vary widely about how long Adam was alone in the garden, all the accounts are consistent that they were together in the garden for twice as long as Adam was alone. For the sake of continuity in this narrative, we will suggest that Adam was alone in the garden for 3.5 years, and they were together in the garden for 7 years. But in truth, I would not be surprised at all to discover that Adam was alone in the garden for 350 million years, and they were together for 700 million years before partaking of the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Apocryphal records suggest that, in the first week, Adam was created, and from his rib Eve. In the second week, God showed her unto him. And for this reason, the commandment was given to keep in their defilement for a male 7 days, and for a female twice 7 days. And after Adam had completed 40 days in the land where he had been created, he was brought into the Garden of Eden to till and keep it. But Eve was not brought in until the 80th day. And after this, she entered into the Garden of Eden. We don't fully understand the symbolism today. Still, we can see that it was essential to God that his people always remember and even commemorate the fact that Adam was alone in the garden for 1/2 the amount of time that they lived together in there. The first thing the couple heard from the mouth of the deity, now that Eve had arrived, was not to avoid the fruit of the tree of knowledge. It was to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Apocryphal accounts specify that Heavenly Mother spoke these words. In fact, it seems that all scriptural blessings having to do with posterity come through Heavenly Mother herself. If we look closely at Heavenly Mother's charge, we will see that these very blessings are the same as the Abrahamic covenant. Be fruitful, posterity. Subdue the earth, inherit the promised land. Have dominion, priesthood. This is the same covenant that we are adopted into in the church today. We call it the Abrahamic covenant, just as the priesthood is named after Melchizedek. But it all originated with God making covenants with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. This reminds us of what it means to be children of God. He did not bring our intelligence into existence. He knew us as individuals before we were spiritually begotten. Our father and mother first adopted our intelligence, then created a spirit body for us and placed us in it through a birthing process. Though it sounds complex, this concept is not foreign to us. It is the exact process that governs our physical birth here on earth. Our spirits were first adopted in the premortal realm by those who were foreordained to be our physical parents. They created our physical bodies, and God placed our spirit into them before our birth. Jesus further commanded that we all must be born again. We are all familiar with being adopted into the family of Abraham through baptism or rebirth into the church. As we take this step, our Savior, Jesus Christ, becomes the Father of our salvation. Each time we inherit a new form of existence, we are adopted and born. We become a child first, and later a parent, as we bring others into that state as well. Taking Eve's hand, Adam invited her to walk with him through the garden. This walk was full of unforgettable surprises. Eve sensitively stopped. She was drawn in by the scent of the flowers, by the birds singing, by the animals following her, by the vegetation, and by the waters of the river of life. Eden was perfect and beautiful to her, but nothing compared to the human being created in the image of God. They turned to each other with admiration. As they watched the sunset with unmatched pleasure, the young couple contemplated the setting sun, which, through its pink rays, colored the sky in a magnificent scene. Thus, the 6th day came to an end. The setting of the sun ushered in the Sabbath day. The sun, which had illuminated nature with its brightness and warmth on the sixth day, set, giving way to the cold darkness. The joyful birds silenced their trills and sought their nests while the other animals retired. Only the pair remained still, seeking to see in the last fading light on the horizon the hope of a new dawn. Troubled by the darkness, they saw among the bushes a beautiful light, the moon, whose silver rays bathed nature in gentle luminosity. Now that the star's brilliance illuminated the entire sky, they discovered that the night was merely darkness. In their innocence, Adam and Eve were unaware that this night symbolized the dark future awaiting humanity. When it became clear to them, contemplating the brilliance of the heavens brought them comfort and hope, transforming the nocturnal firmament into the place where they would speak of the future. The Garden of Eden was the world's first temple, and the first stage on which the creation drama took place was the night sky. Soon enough, only those who turned their eyes away from the earth to contemplate the heavens would be enlightened. After gazing at the sky, Adam and Eve lay down in the loving lap of their Creator and were gently put to sleep. Darkness thickened in the hours before dawn. However, this would not last long, for at last a glimmer appeared in the east, seeming to speak of the hope of a new day. Gradually, the sky tinged with a bright red, and the imposing darkness retreated before the increasing strength of the light. The sun would soon appear as a liberator, restoring life and color in the final challenge. Nature began to awaken from the long night. The flowers opened, exhaling a sense of joy. The animals and birds that had been silenced during the night joined their voices in a triumphant song, heralding the rise of this great day. The ascension of light foreshadowed the final victory of God's kingdom over the dominion of rebellion. The couple bathed in the light of His presence, in hopes of a happy awakening. The Creator gently exclaimed, "Awaken, my children!" His voice penetrated the ears of Adam and Eve. With joy, the couple greeted their divine Creator and joined the angels in triumphant anthems. Unbeknownst to them, today was their coronation day. It would prove to be the most solemn event, refuting the adversary's vitalist accusations. The universe experienced a truly solemn moment on this first Sabbath. On this festive morning, the Eternal would prove the greatness of His character, represented by justice and love. He would refute the accusations that His government was selfish and tyrannical in the eyes of all rational creatures throughout the vast universe. For that day is more holy and blessed than any Jubilee day of the Jubilees. On this day, we kept the Sabbath in the heavens before it was made known to any flesh to keep the Sabbath thereon on the earth. And the Creator of all things blessed it, but He did not sanctify all peoples and nations to keep Sabbath thereon, only Israel. God had created the Garden of Eden as a temple. It was designed to teach His children how to become king and priests and after His order. Now that Eve was created, humanity could become the faithful administrator, the rational center, and the arbitrator of creation. This was the decisive moment that showed God is neither a tyrant nor selfish, as God crowned someone else on Mount Zion. God led the young couple to Mount Zion, the place of the divine throne. There, before the trembling silent hosts, the Creator, in a surprising gesture, covered the man with a royal mantle and placed on his head the crown that Lucifer had coveted. Moved by deep gratitude for the supreme honor bestowed upon them, Adam and Eve respectfully bowed and put their precious crowns at the feet of the Creator, a sign of submission. By His politeness, God granted Adam and Eve a royal cloak and a crown and allowed them to sit on His throne in Eden. Then the Eternal rose from His throne and withdrew from the Garden of Eden. The faithful angels respectfully accompanied His steps of withdrawal. Adam and Eve were arrayed in the apparel of sovereignty, the crown of glory set upon their heads. They were made king and queen, priest and priestess, and prophets for the earth. This is when God gave them dominion over all creatures and things, and all the wild beasts, all the cattle, and the feathered fowl were gathered together. They passed before Adam, and He assigned names to them, and they bowed their heads before Him. Everything in nature admired Him and submitted themselves unto Him. And the angels and the hosts of heaven heard the voice of God saying unto Him, Adam, behold, I have made thee king, priest, prophet, lord, head, and governor of everything which hath been made and created. And they shall be in subjection unto thee, and they shall be thine. And I have given unto thee power over everything which I have created. And when the angels heard this speech, they all bowed the knee and paid homage to him. The Quran correctly clarifies that Adam and Eve were first taught the names of the animals. Then God commanded the couple to inform the creatures of their names. There is a sacred power in naming, and God allowed Adam and Eve to exercise it. Adam admired one creature above the rest and named it a lamb. He was told it would be a symbol of the eternal. A cry of victory followed this. The children of light, who had long suffered insults in the face of the accusations of rebel hosts, now praised the blessed God. Indeed, in his work of justice, he had finally denied the enemies the revelation of his character of humility, selflessness, and love. Having established man as the Lord of all creation, the Eternal, with a solemn voice, began to show Adam and Eve the greatness of their mission. They were to be faithful stewards by honoring the laws of justice and love. They joyfully accepted the government of their Creator. These mandates made the couple feel amazed by the revelation of divine selflessness. After revealing to the couple the infinite honor and responsibility of their mission, the Creator explained the spiritual conflict that was working toward universal domination. Lucifer, who had served the divine king in Zion for countless eons, had become corrupted by pride and selfishness. He had rallied a third of the hosts of heaven and now sought to overthrow the Eternal by dishonoring him with vile accusations.